Whereas we're talking about a slowdown in the auto space, economy in general, the FMCG space seems to be also going through a churn. The good news is that Indians are opening more demat. Now, for the longest time, we've argued and we've said that Indians do not invest in stocks. They always buy real estate and gold. But given that in last 10 years, real estate is stuck, and gold prices have not, investing in gold has not been a rewarding experience, money is moving back into mutual funds. I think that's a trend which AMFI seems to be indicating on a daily basis. But it's heartening to see that the demat accounts also in last 1 year, they've also grown exponentially. So Nikhil Kamath joins us, a very dear friend of mine, co-founder and head of trading with Zerodha. So let's understand with him that where exactly the demat accounts are opening, what is the trend, which age category seems to be now coming back into markets. Are these first-time investors, or this is just a blip number and we should not read too much into it? Nikhil, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Demat opening. Is this, how should one read into it? Is this saying that the next generation of investors are coming back? Where exactly the demat accounts are opening? And could you also profile and give us a sense of the income bracket here?
Most of the accounts that are opening with us at Zerodha are between the age group of 25 to 35. So we're seeing a lot of new people enter the market, and if you had to take an average income bracket for this group, I would say it's people who've been working for 5 years or 10 years, and then between the 5 to 15 lakhs a year age bracket, the salary bracket.
Could you also, broadly tell us the geography in which these demat accounts are opening?
Tier 1 cities are leading this as usual. I mean, Mumbai would be number 1, followed by Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad and Chennai. But in the recent past, we are seeing a significant traction in Tier 2 and 3 cities as well. So we do see a lot of business come in from small towns in Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, for instance.
Morning. It's certainly fairly encouraging trends, but I want to understand from you, are we seeing that these accounts are being opened for a trading purpose, or is there some sort of a long-term trend as well? Are investors really, do they have conviction in the stock markets?
I think what has happened over the last 5 years is stock markets have performed better than real estate or gold. And stock markets offer a more liquid investment than any of these other asset classes, in the sense that you can enter and exit the investment at any point. And as stock markets continue to outperform other asset classes, we can only we see that more and more money will come into this diaspora. I think the Indian markets over the last 10 years have given 12-13% compounded on the benchmark level. And these returns in a liquid way are quite attractive to most investors who come in to the markets, especially for the first time ones who come in between the 25 to 35 age gap.
Right. Nikhil, how many new demat accounts do you see opening? And give us a sense of the percentage of the growth, and simultaneously the number of active accounts has been reducing. What are the numbers you have? Is there a trend that you see there?
So now we have, as Zerodha, the largest number of active accounts in India. We have crossed the 1 million mark, and we see on an average between 50 to 70,000 new accounts which come in to the Zerodha platform. And most of these now are new timers, people who are beginning and they want to have some kind of an exposure to the stock market. So it's a whole new different kind of population which is coming into the stock markets versus old experienced investors switching from one broker to another. And in India, this whole space is so underpenetrated. We have less than 10% of our population who has any kind of exposure to the financial markets. So the room to grow is significant, and I think there will be an inflection point at some point, post which people will become more financially aware, and we believe a lot more people will come into the stock markets as a place to allocate some of their savings.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to what Abha just flagged off. Whereas we look at the number of the new demat accounts which are opening, but should we start focusing on the total number of active demat accounts which are there? Because you may open up new demat accounts, but if they are not active and if the old accounts are also not functioning, it's as good as deadwood.
The thing with investment is we recommend for people to be as passive as possible. So even if you're an investor who comes in and invests and does not come back for the next year or two, your investment is still in place. So even though your account might not essentially be considered active, I think it's par for the course, and even these kind of accounts add to the total overall exposure to financial markets that the Indian population might have. But the active accounts is definitely a better metric of gauging.
So my next question to you really...
Active accounts are definitely a better metric to gauge how much activity is happening.
Okay, fair point. So Nikhil, my next question is perhaps an obvious one, which is that historically when we see a uptick in demat accounts, it always coincides with the market peak. It's always said that the retail guys, when they start coming out and when they start buying shares, that's bad news for institutional investors, that's bad news for old timers, that's bad news for the bulls, and that's bad news for long-term investors. Is this different this time? Because the net addition number is impressive, and somehow the market is telling you that this demat account addition is coming at a time where their mid and small cap stocks have been in a bear market. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Normally these stocks get added, normally demat accounts get added up when there is retail euphoria and participation from housewives.
Right. I do get the point that in the past, a large influx in demat accounts has coincided with significant downturns in the market. But I think the kind of investors coming into the market are different now. Previously, we saw that people came in and used tools and leverage to make short-term bets on the market. But we feel that people who are coming in now are doing it with a longer-term view in mind, and we see people investing, allocating a part of their savings, and they're investing hoping to earn 12, 13, 14, 15% over the next 5 years or the next decade. So I think this kind of influx of new participants in the market is probably going to be a good thing, and I don't think it necessarily will coincide with a peak in the markets right now.
Nikhil, just in terms of the sentiment that you're also, sensing from the retail investors, given that small and mid-cap stocks have underperformed so terribly, and we have seen investors get burnt. What are you sensing? And I know you just gave us some data as well, but do you feel perhaps SIPs are still the preferred bet, perhaps a safer, conscious choice currently for a retail investor?
Definitely. I think SIPs are a great way for a new investor to approach the market. And I think it's always prudent to stay with the largest companies in India, maybe stick to the Nifty or the Sensex stocks versus attempt to invest in the small or mid-cap companies, because the larger companies are always regulated better and we have access to more information about what is happening in these companies. The recent underperformance in small cap and mid cap companies was also preceded by a lot of outperformance in this sector too. So if you were to ask me personally, I would say stick to the large cap sector, but even for the small and mid cap sector, if money stays in there for long enough, with India growing at the pace that it is, I think there will definitely be opportunities which come out from there.
Okay, Nikhil, thanks very much for joining in. You've given us a deep insight as to what exactly the sentiment is right now for investors opening their accounts. And yes, indeed, so far it has been fairly encouraging, with the highest number of demat accounts added since 2011.